Hello and welcome to Web Relates. Today we're looking at the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Our first story is by Illuminatus Prime. Get your files off my computer? Okay. The setup. While studying at uni, I crossed paths with a hostile prof. Let's call him Prof Nasty Man, who absolutely did not want to be questioned about anything during class. Disruptive, he'd say. I'm a researcher with a PhD, he'd say. You're wasting my time, he'd say. Study harder, he'd say. Some of the other things he'd say would likely get this post deleted if I repeated them here. The trigger. I missed a lecture, so just before the next class started, I asked him if I might have a copy of his lecture notes from the class I'd missed. He blew up at me, slammed his papers down, and started ripping me a new one, saying that if I was not serious about his class, then I shouldn't be in it, and that I should just drop it. This went on until about 5 minutes into the class. Nobody else said a word, and the class continued. Cue the malicious compliance. The uni had a surplus barn where unneeded equipment was palletized and sold at bulk rates. I got there first thing in the morning and spotted a pallet with a bunch of computer junk on it. For $50, I ended up with a dot matrix printer, a few 1200 baud modems, and an extended technology PC, monitor and keyboard setup. Of course, I also got a receipt. My place wasn't far, so I borrowed a wheelbarrow and brought it all home in 2 trips. The printer was beyond repair. Only 2 of the modems still worked. The PC system booted up on the first try. I looked through the directory and saw what looked like drafts of a research paper, and a whole lot of data files as well. The HDD's volume name was the same as Prof Nasty Man's, so I rang up his office. His secretary, a sweet grandmotherly type, answered the phone. I explained what I had found. She asked me to hold. A minute or 2 later, Prof Nasty Man himself was on the line, telling me to get those files off the computer now. Sir, yes, sir. I did it the right way too. I deleted all the data and document files. Then I overwrote the empty drive space with a huge file full of random bytes of data, deleted the file, and repeated the process 6 more times. Then I reformatted the HDD with a new OS. The PC booted right up to the DOS prompt, and I was happy with my new PC. The fallout. At the next class session, Prof Nasty Man greeted me by my name, and politely asked if I had removed the files from my computer yet. Of course, sir. I removed those files from my computer, just like you told me to. Why? Were they important? He told me how important the files were. Something to do with 2 or 3 years of research data for a corporate-backed project. Sorry, sir, but you told me to get those files off my computer, so I did. Your secretary and anyone else listening in will verify that. Those files are gone, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. The epilogue. Prof Nasty Man had to default on his project, which looked bad for his department and the university as well. Rumors suggested that he had made no backups because he feared plagiarism. I had a few discussions with the dean and some others about this, but it always came down to Prof Nasty Man's own carelessness. I finished the class, got a decent grade, and never saw him again. Honestly, that's all on him. That was completely ridiculous. And you need to back up your data. Backups upon backups. Our next story is by Mr. CBA. Boss told me how to organize my tools. I have been a mechanic for nearly 15 years. I am the lead tech in my shop, and my company just sold recently to a different corporation, and with that came a new boss. A little bit of history about new boss. He is 22 and the son of one of my older bosses, so everybody suspects a bit of nepotism at play. The older boss was ruthless and a jerk, and really put a dent in my confidence about being a mechanic, so I may hold somewhat of a grudge against the family, but I try to do my best to move on and just do my job. The new boss and I have had some minor issues already in the 3 months he has been here, but I'm the type of person who can generally put my feelings to the side if the money keeps ending up on my paycheck. Today, however, that changed. I will admit I am not the most organized person. I have ADHD, and at 33 years old, am still learning to function without the medicine that I weaned off of at 26. My toolbox is normally cluttered, but I keep all my tools in my area, or on top of my box. It's the system that works for me. This morning I clocked in and was about to unlock my box when the new boss came up to me and said, "You will not be working on cars today until your box is organized." I said, "My box is organized in the way that it works for me." He shot back with, "Not good enough for me or the company. I need to be able to find tools when I need them, and and it needs to look neat and orderly for when corporate comes through. I paused for a second and said, So you're telling me that you need to be able to find my tools that I have purchased when you need to use them? I don't remember signing that agreement. He nodded and muttered something about insubordination and that he would be passing off all the work to the other technician until it was completed to his satisfaction. I had assumed he was bluffing until 3 cars came in, and all 3 tickets were handed to the other tech. I don't have any problem being told to clean up, and I would have even done it his way. But I had a problem with his tone, and this was messing with my paycheck. So while he was in the back doing tire inventory, I opened the top drawer of my toolbox, spread my arms, and swept every single thing into the drawer that I could. I repeated for the second and third drawer until the top was clean. I used the same process for both of my smaller carts until each one could be closed and locked. Then I clocked out for lunch. I am currently sitting in my car in the parking lot, eating lunch and browsing job listings, while watching him try to open all of my drawers to use my tools. Because 3 more cars came in, and the other tech can't handle 6 at a time. Update. I did not expect this to blow up like this, lol. I clocked back in from lunch, and boss asked to speak with me. Apparently, he called the district manager and also his dad, who is a district manager of another district, for advice. And it sounds like they both told him to make it right, and that he could not afford to lose me. I know how it sounds, but it's true. He told me that he just wanted to make a good impression on corporate, who would be coming through in a few weeks, and that he shouldn't have targeted me personally. He paid me for the 3 vehicles he worked on, and I let him know that I was willing to work with him, but if he ever spoke down to me again, there would not be a do-over. I would leave. He also inquired about buying his own tools. He's not a bad dude, just a little anxious, I guess. I suppose I'll stick around for a little, as the paychecks are worth it, and the drive is convenient, and I have a wife and a house to pay for. As for some of the responses, yes, I am somewhat of a slob with my toolbox, but I also average 10 to 15 cars a day, so I don't always have time or the drive to neatly organize my tools daily. He said he will be bringing his toolbox from home and calling or texting to ask to borrow before borrowing. I guess I'm somewhat of a rare mechanic, as I don't mind people borrowing my tools, as long as they are put back. Also, the empty toolbox comments. I own all 4 of my toolboxes, so they would be coming with me if I left. Thanks for the support, guys. Seems like maliciously complying paid off for once. Our next story is by 68 Cadillac. HOA receives a check for all fines. Short history. Fall 2005. Significant other and I buy our first house together. We're happy. Baby's on the way. House is cute and in a new subdivision. HOA just formed. We're at the end of a blunt cul-de-sac. Quiet. No traffic. Neighbors nice. 3-ish years later, the US economy crapped the bed and wiped with the drapes. Over half of the homes in our subdivision have been foreclosed on, or are in the process. Me and mine aren't paying on our mortgage. We've moved out, and a family friend and his family have moved in. They lost their house. He pays me a discounted rent. I'm not paying the mortgage, but maintaining the house with his rent. The HOA is having troubles maintaining the common areas and keeping things clean because of lack of funds. Junky cars and dead or dying landscaping are everywhere. One home burned to its foundation. A few months after my friend moves in, red fire lane paint is applied to the curbs of all the cul-de-sacs in the subdivision. I'm furious because it prevents street parking in front of the house. Anytime I need to stop by to fix something, or my tenant has a guest, we must park in front of a neighbor's house or in the common collector streets and walk in. I called the local fire department to ask why they need so many fire lanes, seeing how there were no hydrants nearby. They told me they hadn't requested additional fire lanes, nor had they asked for curbs to be painted. They said anyone can just paint a curb red. It's the signage or a hydrant's presence that makes it a legal fire lane. The paint's just there to help you interpret the signage. I check, and sure enough, no signs. Come to find out, it's a ploy by the HOA to drum up more funds. If they paint curbs red and call it a safety zone, their bylaws allow them to fine a homeowner for violating the safety zone. Funny also that the HOA president lives at the end of one of the cul-de-sacs, and now the neighbors can no longer park in front of her house without getting safety zone fines. One evening, just past twilight, wearing a high-vis vest, safety glasses, and work boots, I paint over the red curb with boring grey paint, specifically designed for concrete with great coverage. I do the entire cul-de-sac. 3 weeks later, it's red again. 2 days later, grey. 5 weeks, red. Then grey with silicone top sealer. Then red, that flakes off almost immediately. Then red again, flakes. Then a sign that reads, "Safety zone, no parking." For lack of payment, the home is now under notification of foreclosure, and I'm working with an agency to help navigate and file all the paperwork needed so we can short sell. Short selling in this context means that although we promised to pay the bank $350,000 plus interest for the house, they'd forgive any amount we owe as long as we turned the house over in good condition. Example, not flush concrete down the toilets or poke pinholes in the water pipes. Which screws us, but it's better than owing $350,000 on a house worth only $165,000 that will be legally taken from us in short order. Screw you, Regan, I'm still waiting for that trickle. During a short sale, you're required to notify any potential parties that could have liens on the house. This includes the HOA. I'm up to date on my dues, and I have no outstanding violations, so I think I'm in the clear. But no, the HOA suddenly comes up with a whole list of violations that haven't been addressed or remedied for 5 months, plus additional fines for the delay. The HOA said they notified me in November, but can't seem to produce copies of these multiple notices of violation. They only have the current one in March, listing all the outstanding violations. Examples: black stains on driveway, uncoiled garden hose, unapproved tree, missing bush, missing foliage, dead tree. I informed them that the stains were tire marks from driving into the garage. The unapproved tree they did, in fact, approve. The missing bushes they approved the removal. Here's a copy of the plan, and your approvals with your name on it. It's not my fault, you don't know what you approved. The dead tree. Many trees tend to lose leaves in the fall, like around November. They might look dead if you're just making up violations in February, but they are just dormant and waiting for spring. Even if it was dead, you can't replace a tree in November, December, January, or February. No nurseries sell saplings that late in the season. Unless you want a Yuletide tree, how can someone be reasonably expected to replace a dead tree in the off-season? The HOA delays responding, and the short sale is on a timer. If I don't have all legal items, payments for liens, and documents into the escrow officer by date, my short sale will fall through, and I'll owe $350,000 plus interest on a $165,000 house that's soon to be foreclosed on. The HOA fines and fees total $1,955. $45 short of where felony fraud starts. I'm furious. This HOA is going to screw me one last time, and I'll pay for the experience. So I talk to the escrow officer and see what she needs. Only the money for the HOA lien, and you'll close escrow tomorrow. She's seen reams of these come through with similar amounts of fines requested by HOAs that hold up short sales. None exceed $2,000. I ask her what form of payment will satisfy her as an escrow officer. Money order, cash, or check. A check would be easiest for you, don't you think? If I write a check to HOA for $1,955, then hand it to you, that'll satisfy escrow? Yep. You'll mail the check to HOA after the documents record? Yes. You'll have a check in 25 minutes. The next day, on the phone with the escrow officer, sitting in my car in a parking lot, 9:01 a.m. Did the documents record? Did the short sale go through? Yes, I'll mail out finalized documents and any other items before close of business today. Thank you. Hang up. I walk into the local branch of my bank and inform the teller. I need to place a stop payment on a check. Edit. My bad, I didn't include the fallout, Rule 7. Here goes. And HOA never tried to collect or contact us again. You know, I've never encountered an HOA in South Africa, but I'm sure there are areas where we have something similar. But I just don't understand why you guys put up with them, because I've never really heard a good thing come out of them. All your stories of them are horror stories. And yes, there is always the case of complainers speak louder than satisfied customers, but still. Okay guys, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Enjoy your weekend. Cheers.